Ryan stood frozen in the upstairs hallway, unable to pull his eyes away from the floor. One by one, tiny muddy footprints continued appearing on the old wooden boards, as though an invisible child was slowly walking toward him. There was no body, no shadow, and no sound of footsteps. Only the footprints themselves appeared, each one glistening with fresh rainwater before the next emerged a little closer. The storm still raged outside, yet inside the house there was nothing except the slow rhythm of Ryan's breathing and the overwhelming feeling that something was standing directly in front of him. Even though he couldn't see it, the footprints stopped only a few feet away. Silence filled the hallway. Ryan instinctively stepped backward until his shoulders touched the wall, his flashlight trembling so violently that its beam shook across the peeling wallpaper. He swallowed hard before forcing the words out. "Who's there?" The question disappeared into the empty house. No answer came. Then from somewhere downstairs, a small laugh echoed through the silence. It wasn't loud or sinister. It sounded exactly like a young child laughing after hearing something amusing. Somehow, that made it even more disturbing. Ryan's pulse quickened as he hurried toward the staircase, convinced someone had entered the house while he was upstairs. The moment he reached the bottom step, he stopped. The front door was wide open. He was certain he had closed it only minutes earlier. Cold rain poured through the doorway, soaking the wooden floorboards and carrying small streams of muddy water into the house. Ryan slowly approached the entrance and looked outside, expecting to see his car still stranded beside the highway. Instead, his car was gone. The highway had vanished. Even the forest had disappeared. Beyond the porch stretched an endless curtain of rain, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. There was no road, no trees, no horizon, and no sky above. It was as though the entire world had been erased, leaving nothing behind except endless falling water. Ryan cautiously stepped onto the porch and aimed his flashlight into the storm. Normally, the beam would disappear into the darkness after several yards, but this time the light seemed to dissolve almost immediately, consumed by the rain itself. He took one careful step forward. His foot found nothing beneath it. Ryan instantly pulled himself backward, his heart pounding against his ribs. The porch simply ended. Beyond its edge, there was no ground waiting below, only an endless black emptiness hidden behind the rain. It was as though the farmhouse stood alone in a place where the rest of the world no longer existed. Fighting rising panic, Ryan stumbled back inside and slammed the front door shut with all his strength. The instant the door closed, everything became silent. The rain disappeared. The thunder stopped. Even the wind vanished. The silence was so complete that Ryan could hear his own heartbeat echoing inside his ears. Then came 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Each one sounded deliberate, patient, almost polite. Ryan remained perfectly still, staring at the old wooden door. Whoever or whatever was outside wanted to come in. A familiar voice finally broke the silence. Ryan. Every muscle in his body tightened. He knew that voice. It belonged to his mother. But that was impossible. She had died 5 years earlier. Again the gentle voice came through the door. Ryan. Open the door. His eyes filled with tears before he could stop them. It sounded exactly like her. The same warmth. The same softness. There wasn't the slightest difference. Then she whispered a childhood nickname that nobody else had ever known, a name she had used only when he was very young. Ryan slowly reached toward the doorknob, almost without thinking. Every instinct told him that if he opened the door, his mother would somehow be standing there waiting for him. His fingertips stopped only inches away. Something beneath the door caught his attention, a shadow. Not the shadow of a person. It had far too many limbs. Ryan stared in horror as 6 long legs slowly shifted beneath the narrow gap at the bottom of the door. Whatever was standing outside wasn't human. He stumbled backward. The comforting voice changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. It became deeper, older, and disturbingly amused. "You were so close." The knocking stopped. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then every family photograph hanging throughout the house crashed onto the floor at exactly the same moment. Glass exploded across the room, the sound echoing through the empty farmhouse. Ryan swung his flashlight toward the shattered frames, expecting to see the same old family portraits scattered across the floor. Instead, every photograph had changed. The smiling family was gone. Now every frame showed Ryan. In one photograph, he stood beside the rocking chair upstairs. In another, he stared out of the glowing bedroom window. Another showed him standing silently in the hallway with an expressionless face. Then he found the final photograph. His blood ran cold. Ryan stood in the center of the room exactly as he was now, wearing the same rain-soaked clothes. Behind him stood a tall figure whose face disappeared into complete darkness. One impossibly long hand rested gently on Ryan's shoulder. At the bottom of the frame, written in faded black ink, were 4 simple words. "The next family arrives." Ryan's breathing became shallow. This isn't possible. Before he could take another step, the distant sound of a car engine drifted through the house. He hurried to the window. Through the endless rain, 2 bright headlights slowly emerged from the darkness, before stopping exactly where his own car had broken down earlier that night. A young couple climbed out, looking around in confusion as the storm raged around them. Ryan watched in disbelief as the man pointed toward the farmhouse. The woman nodded. They had seen the yellow light. They were coming here. Ryan pounded desperately against the upstairs window, shouting with every bit of strength he had left, "Go back. Leave. Don't come here." The couple never reacted. They continued walking toward the house with calm expressions, smiling politely as though someone had welcomed them. Then Ryan noticed something that made every drop of blood in his body turn cold. They weren't looking at the farmhouse. They were looking at the upstairs window, at someone standing there, someone raising one hand, silently inviting them inside. Ryan slowly turned away from the window. The rocking chair behind him had stopped moving. The bedroom window stood open. Rain drifted quietly into the room. And across the wooden floor, fresh, muddy footprints led away from the window, until they stopped directly beneath Ryan's own feet.